Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. In today's video, I'm going to be discussing last night's game between the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Milwaukee Bucks. And this was a pretty bad loss for the Bucks. They ended up losing 114 to 109 in the first half. They really struggled, were playing very sloppily, were turning the ball over frequently, couldn't seem to knock down any shots, weren't able to get out in transition to create easy looks at the basket, and overall it led to them falling into a pretty huge deficit as they were trailing 52 to 41 at halftime. Chris Middleton was really the only player for the Bucks that had it going in that first half, as he had 17 of those 41 points. From there, the Bucks started to play a bit better. Bryn Forbes and Bobby Portis both got on rolls for different portions of the third quarter, and by the end of that quarter, the Bucks were able to even it up at 84 to 84, or something like that. It was tied after the third quarter. I don't remember what the exact score was, but from there, the teams kind of traded blows, went back and forth a little bit. There were a few times where I thought the Bucks were going to be able to pull away and lock this one up, but that never really happened. They found themselves down 2 points with about 20 seconds left. They had to get a stop, and Justin Jackson ended up nailing a huge shot for the Thunder from the top of the key, and that one really sealed this for Oklahoma City. Jackson had a really nice game for the Thunder, and it was good to see because I was personally a fan of this guy at North Carolina during his 4 years that he spent there, so his career so far has disappointed me in a big way because I thought he had a chance to translate into being a decent role player at the very least in the NBA. But in this game, he played really well, knocking down all 4 of his threes to finish with 22 points. He's never going to live up to the expectations that come with being a lottery pick, which he was. I think that can probably be associated with the Kings and a lot of the decisions that franchise has made in the past, but I do still think that there is a spot for him in the league, and I hope that he can continue to iron out his game and get himself to a point where perhaps this could be a more common occurrence than it certainly has been so far in his career. Outside of him, Al Horford had a really nice game. He had 20 points, 7 rebounds, and 9 assists, made a few really nice passes out of the short roll as well as from the top of the key, where he seemed to be handling the ball quite a bit. Horford has had a nice start to the year, really bouncing back from last year's struggles in Philadelphia, and I think that for a team that needs a center, he could be a really nice addition at this trade deadline because he's still a plus defender, as he showed with his effort on Giannis tonight. He also can knock down shots, he's a good passer for a big guy, and he's a good rebounder as well. So kind of the complete package. He's not a star, and he's probably not a top 30 player in the league anymore, which he once was. But he's still someone that can help your team out. I get the contract is pretty extreme for this season, but it gets cheaper from here, and I think that he could definitely help a team win. So Al Horford would be a guy, if I had a way to make it work, that I'd be interested in trading for if I were an NBA contender in need of a big man. Lou Dort and Darius Bazley also both had solid games. These two young guys are kind of the current core for the Thunder. Them, in addition to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who didn't even play in this one, which just makes this loss for the Bucks even worse, as he and George Hill both sat this one out. But Bazley and Dort finished with 18 and 19 points respectively. Both did a nice job of scoring the ball, obviously, from those point totals, and they really helped push this OKC team to this win. The last guy I want to touch on here for the Thunder is Hamidou Diallo. Diallo has had a breakout season in which he's played really well, and tonight I saw glimpses of that, as his athleticism is certainly intriguing. He's all over the court. He's a very good rebounder, and he's a genuinely fun player to watch, but I don't think that this is his best game whatsoever. He put up one of the weirder stat lines that I have ever seen, as he had 13 rebounds, which is the good part of the stat line, but he had 6 points on 3 for 16 shooting and did not attempt a 3 or a free throw. How many times do you see a guy take 16 2-point shots without getting to the line or without attempting a 3-point shot? I'm guessing it hasn't been done so far this season. Diallo was also extremely inefficient, and he just kept shooting it. Not his best game, but I can definitely see where the intrigue is with this guy, and I think that he's probably a player who could wind up being a pretty solid starter for an NBA team at some point in his career. Moving over to the Bucks side of things, as I said, Khris Middleton was really the only reliable source of offense for Milwaukee in the first half. He had 17 in that first period, but in the second half he really struggled to get going, and he only scored 6 points and was taking a lot of questionable shots that I think he probably could have passed up on and tried to find an open teammate perhaps. He ended up scoring 23 points on 10 for 22 shooting, which is not incredible efficiency. 23 points on 22 shots is not anything to write home about. And I wish that the Bucks would have kind of realized that Chris's excellent first half didn't really turn over into the second and start to look at alternative options for scoring the ball. Bobby Portis was, I guess, an alternative, you could say, as he really got hot in that third quarter, was knocking down threes. Two of his three 3-point attempts went down in this game, and he also was pretty lethal in the mid-range, had a couple tip-ins at the basket, finished with 21 points on 9 for 14 shooting, and just really provided a spark for the Bucks off the bench. I also thought that it was really interesting that he closed the game, as that has been something Coach Mike Budenholzer has been hesitant to go to. But the Bucks' closing lineup for this one was Donte DiVincenzo, Pat Connaughton, Khris Middleton, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Bobby Portis. And that 5-man lineup right there is definitely interesting, because once Jrue Holiday is back and healthy, I think that inserting him into that closing lineup in the Pat Connaughton spot could make this a really interesting lineup for the Bucks to trot out at the end of games. Brook Lopez has not had his best start to the season. His defensive impact has gone down a little bit, and on offense, sometimes it just seems like he's invisible. This was one of those games. He had just 2 points on 1 for 4 shooting and played only 20 minutes, 0 of which came in the fourth quarter. That's why Bud decided to close out with the Bobby Portis at the 5 lineup, and that's something that I think the Bucks could have a lot of success with moving forward. It makes them a lot more versatile on the defensive end of the court and allows them to switch much better than they do with a lumbering big man out there like Brook Lopez. It didn't really work in this game because on offense they just weren't able to hit shots down the stretch. But on defense, I think that lineup could be interesting, and it's something I would look to see Bud try out a little bit more often than he has so far. Outside of him, Giannis had a decent game, putting up a triple-double, 24 points, 17 rebounds, and 10 assists. He couldn't have done much more to propel the Bucks to victory in this one, and he was also super effective defensively, where he had 3 steals and 3 blocks, made a few emphatic rejections, and was really key in protecting the rim for this Bucks team. They really weren't all that bad defensively. They did give up some open shots to good shooters. Guys like Lou Dort and Mike Muscala were able to take advantage of that. But I thought that Giannis's rim protection was outstanding. He did a nice job of deflecting passes and getting steals to get into transition looks, and he was really the only Buck who was able to score in transition in this game. And I don't think that there's much more he could have done to help the Bucks win. Donte DiVincenzo also had a nice game, finishing with 17 points and 8 rebounds. He shot 6 for 10 from the floor and made 5 of his 7 threes. This kind of outing is good for the Bucks to see from Donte, as he has struggled of late and been in a bit of a slump, although in the last couple games he has kind of broken out of that and started to shoot the ball better. But he looked really confident taking 3-point shots off the dribble, and that's definitely a promising development for Milwaukee. Bryn Forbes really struggled in the first half, but in the second half he got it going a little bit. He finished with 14 points on 6 for 17 shooting. So obviously not a terrific night for Bryn, but it was good to see him get on a hot stretch and knock down some key shots for the Bucks. Overall, This Bucks loss just comes down to the fact that they were out-hustled and outplayed by a team that is far inferior to them when it comes to talent. The Thunder wanted this one more, and they were the team that was more deserving of the victory. The Bucks finish out this road stretch of 6 games with a 3-3 record, which is pretty disappointing considering they started out 3-0. They need to give better efforts, cannot have stinker games like this, and the Thunder certainly were able to take advantage of it and got a really nice victory over one of the better teams in the league because of that. I guess the Bucks are going to have to play far better in their 2 games against the Raptors on Tuesday and Thursday if they want to be able to win those games. I think that I covered everything that I wanted to cover here, so that is going to be it for me. Let me know what you thought about this game in the comment section down below. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll see you all again very soon.